This video is to show you how to create a new virtual machine inside VirtualBox from Oracle. It'll be used to demonstrate how you create and configure the basic VM so that you can have it on your network and you can use it for testing. Again, I use this more for testing purposes. If you are going to do it in production, you will probably make some changes to some of the configuration that we're using, but this is a good starting point to show you how to use it. After installing VirtualBox on your system and bringing up the manager, you click New here, and this will allow you to choose what type of system you're going to install. I'm going to be installing on Linux Ubuntu server, so I'm going to set this up to say Test Ubuntu server, and then the Ubuntu server will allow me to do my testing as I need to. I can choose expert mode, but this is just going to take us through the simple process of using it with the wizard, because this is how most people will set it up originally until you get used to VirtualBox. I will leave the memory where it is for now, because this being a server, 1 gig of memory is good enough for what it is, and since it's not in production, it probably doesn't need a lot of memory right now. It's just for testing. After that, you'll come in and you'll say you want to create a virtual hard drive. This is where it's going to store the actual data for the VM. By default, will go to a single location within VirtualBox. That's a good starting point for where we're at. Always just leave the VDI, the VirtualBox disk image, as a default. It's a great way to go. Everyone pretty much reads it. You can convert it to other formats if you want to use it for VM Player or for Hyper-V, but it's a good starting point. After I click Next, it's going to come up and it's going to allow you to select either a dynamic or fixed size. I recommend using dynamic because this way I can actually have more VMs and more disk space than I actually have on my system. It'll allow the VM to grow the actual hard drive usage up to the point of the hard drive that I've done without grabbing it all at once. If you hit fixed size, that's going to grab all of that memory off your hard drive, so you could eat up a lot of disk space very quickly. And in a test or a lab environment as we're setting up, this is fine. I like to usually set all my VMs that I'm doing testing with to 50 gigs. That's more than enough to do, and because it's dynamic, it gives me a lot to deal with. This will now complete configuring a VM. You can click here to see the VM. The only other change that I will do at this point in time is I'm going to change the network so that the network is not using a NAT. It will use what we call a bridge adapter. This will actually use my NIC inside the host system so that I can actually put the VM on the same network. This will allow me to actually SSH into this box and maintain it and deal with it from a remote perspective as I would do any other real server that I do in a production environment. To allow yourself to actually install, you would have to come over here to storage, and then under your IDE controller here, you would choose a particular image that you would want to mount to actually do the install for the operating system you want to, if you have an ISO to point it to and do the install. But at this point in time, this is all we need to do to set it up. You've now got your virtual environment set up for your test machine, and it'll run just perfectly for you as is.